The Buddha. Each one of us has the potential to be one. I am generally a happy man. It is my natural state of being. I am neither running away nor am I running towards anything in particular. So I really don't know why I have this strong urge to get out of the comfort of my home, leave my family and friends behind, and go exploring on a motorcycle. Well, when I do figure it out, I will be a little wiser. Till then, I will just follow my nose. A multi-day motorcycle ride requires a lot of preparation. The plan is to make myself redundant in terms of my business and family's requirements for the period of the ride. Well, sometimes it works, but mostly my dear wife has to step in to fix the holes in my plan. After touring on my Enfield Bullet 500 for about 10,000 kilometers, I decided that I could treat myself to something a little more comfortable. So in February 2018, I got myself a Royal Enfield Himalayan, the Sleet variant. It was a special edition and the first one to be delivered in Kolkata. In a blink, it was 15th April and time for me to ride out. My new trip mule was packed and ready to carry me for the next 2 weeks. Day 1, Kolkata to Siliguri. First stop, Hindustan Hotel for breakfast. I met this interesting kid. He had ridden all over Sikkim on this little scooter. Bravo boy, well done. Day 2, Siliguri to Guwahati. Stopped for brunch at my favorite dhaba on this route. While everything tastes fantastic, one must definitely try their paratha and paneer. Day 3, Guwahati to Tenzin. I started very early, before most of Guwahati wakes up. After riding for a few hours, I stopped at this village called Bordol Guri and asked the owner of the hotel if he would give me something for breakfast. Sheepishly, he said he would not cook till he has had a bath. And since I was in a hurry, he requested his wife to make breakfast for me. I had to take a picture with this sweet guy. I would definitely recommend this cafe for breakfast as well as lunch. I rode through some picturesque Bodo villages for a few more hours and then finally could see the mountains in the horizon. Balemu is a new gate to Arunachal. I learnt that very few tourists use this entry and that the roads are mainly used by some locals and the military. Before moving on, I stopped at this little temple to express my gratitude to the divine and pray for a good trip ahead. With that, I set off into Arunachal. This road is an ADV rider's dream come true. Full of twisties, fantastic tarmac, punctuated with little stretches of gauge tracks and brilliantly engineered cambers. In spite of having a 21-inch front wheel, the Himalayan is a very sweet handler. And if you want to ride hard, the engine is smooth and willing to play. I was really enjoying these roads. As I ascended, it started to become cool and cooler. And just as I started to enjoy the curves, it started to rain. Completely drenched, I stopped over at this cafeteria for lunch of fried rice. The plan was to pitch my tent on the grounds of Kyoto Monastery. However, I was wet and very cold. I really wished I could find some place dry to stay that night. Mr. Kesang Lama and his wife took me in to their home and offered me a room to stay that night. What a wonderful couple. They held my attention all evening with historic tales of King Kala Wangpo of Tawang. Mr. Lama also suggested that I must make detours to visit various monasteries and gompas associated with the 7th century tale. From Morshing village, there's a dirt track that ascends steeply for about 5 kilometers. And then you reach the Laghela Gompa, which itself is about 800 years old. I met two very nice lamas over there and was in discussion with them for many hours. And then the younger one of them invited me to a new Gompa they're building higher up in the same hill, which was another 3 kilometers of steep ascent on dirt tracks. But when you get there, it all seems really worth it. I stopped at some small gompas on the way, and some out of the way too. Time flies when discussions are thought-provoking. I sat there mesmerized for about 3 hours discussing, mainly listening to their stories and Buddhist philosophy. With more local tales, a head full of questions and blessings from the lamas, I headed towards Tirang.
So that's the Che Ungli wala kutta ka pair.
In Dirang, the homestay that I had arranged had oversold themselves. So the owner arranged for me to stay at probably the best retreat in town, the Norfell retreat. Day 5, Dirang to Tawang. All those questions that were seeded the previous day started to play out in my head. Some would get answered, while the rest remained as questions.
Up in the clouds.
This is the day I realized that probably the urge to ride comes from the need to be able to toy with abstract ideas, challenge commonly accepted life norms, and engage the intellect in trying to draw answers from the environment. This is the day I realized that sometimes I know where I've come from. Sometimes I know where I'm going, but mostly I don't know if I'm coming or going. Yet I'm happy with that. Day 6, Tawang. I was supposed to visit Bumla, but the day started with bad weather and my insufficient resolve to deal with it. So I treated myself to a long hot shower and decided to visit all the local gompas. Day 7, Tawang to Bomdila. The weather had cleared up and I was ready to climb up to Sela Pass again. As I was slowly negotiating the dirt track leading up to Sela Pass, I was overtaken by a young man in a small Yamaha R15. The instinctive biker brotherhood saw us riding together, looking out for each other without even having looked eye to eye even once. We stopped before reaching Bomdila, shook hands, introduced ourselves, and I got to know that he is a student who was going to Bomdila to appear for some exams. I wished him good luck and we parted ways. Having reached Bomdila a little early, I changed, got myself something to eat, and went around the local gompas. Day 8, Bomdila to Barpeta Road in Assam. It was going to be a long day, so I started early. At the gas station in Bomdila, I met a young man on a classic 350. He had just got selected in the army and was headed to Tenzing Gaon to party with his buddies. Since I was riding that way too, we decided to ride together. He was leading the way and took me through some roads that do not exist on Google Maps. These roads were still under construction and not open to public, but we went through anyway.
This road comes to an end in about half a kilometer.
After crossing Rupa Valley, we took a short break on this bridge. I mentioned to him that I had stayed at Tenzing Gaon on my way to Tawang with a gentleman named Kesang Lama. Turns out that he knew Mr. Lama well and his buddy's house was next to Mr. Lama's house. On a solo ride, locals and tourists freely approach you and start talking. No matter how the conversation starts, it always turns out to be interesting and very memorable. This was a fantastic trip, but an incomplete one. Arunachal has so much more adventure, mysticism, and spirituality waiting to be experienced. I will definitely go there a few more times. I crossed the Balemu gate at about 12 noon. One last blind turn and the mountains ended abruptly. In front was all plains. This trip had gone well. I shot a small prayer of gratitude to the universe and celebrated the completion of part 1 of the journey by ordering an elaborate Assamese thali. I would love to read your comments on the journey that I have shared with you. Part 2 of this trip is experiencing Sikkim. Till then, this is Balaji signing off. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.